Today we're going to take a look at this CJ Lim Bartlett style drawing. I like this illustration very much. Credit to original author is in the description. So the first module is kind of like a floating platform with some piles underneath. Those are cylinders. Using cylinder command. Use shell command to create some details for the cylinders. And array. Draw the box and use fillet edge to create rounded corners. Second module is basically just like boxes and gumballing boxes and cylinders. I think the model and logic is basically the same, but just with a bit of mirroring and scaling, and you'll get it done. Which basically stresses the importance of using gumball and mastering it. For the third module, we're going to use a box as the base geometry and contour the base geometry, and then extrude the contour lines to create these. I don't know what these are. Now to model the bridge or the arches, we're going to use a subtractive method. But to make the bridge turn, we're going to use the bend command on plan. 3D warehouse lookup crown, and we have a crown. Explode the block and bring it in. So for the last module, we'll start with the box, and then we're going to use shell and subtract to place the crown in the center. Use array surface command to populate the module on the surface. The ground is going to be a solid box, span the array of houses to create a road, and then we can start the composition of the drawing. So basically, we're going to make a portrait viewport to see how the drawing will look. Best practice is to open a perspective viewport to move the elements around. In the meanwhile, you have the viewport static and constant to compose. Basically, it's just scaling and shuffling around the elements and modules to create the full drawing. For example, it's very intellectual to put some frying plants flying in the air to fill up the sky. In the meanwhile, black capsules are ejected from one of the modules, which is also an intellectual decision. Separate the geometries into different layers for easier coloring in Photoshop. Switch to render viewport to test the colors. There's a trick to color certain part of the geometry, which is to extract the surface and put it into another layer. To color the background, simply draw a large plane covering the whole background. Check the box of sun in the render panel so that to give it a shadow. Adjust the sun angle so that the shadow actually has the darker, the middle, and the lighter part. Go to display option and turn on the hard shadow. Get the illustration feeling. Export the line layer, material ID, and we're good to go. In Photoshop, multiply the line layer, and we're going to give a sky a little bit of gradient. We're going to put some clouds over the drawing, which is very important. For the larger clouds, we can add them manually, but for the smaller one, we can actually make a brush. Copy a cloud to a new document and select Define Brush preset. And if we bump up the scatter and random sizes, you can see it looks pretty cool. Don't be afraid to scatter some more clouds and steam and mist. This is the icing on a cake. After grouping the clouds into a single layer, we're going to add a layer style of stroke. Google street lamp to add a street lamp. Google people silhouette to add people. Control T to transform and flip vertical. Control drag the corner of the box to shear the shadow. Finally, use camera raw filter to add some grain and flatten the drawing, and we're done. This is pretty good, isn't it? And it's very easy to make.